Yes. Jai Ma. Jai Ma. Well, welcome everyone. We enjoy having you here. It's kind of a miracle of Divine Mother and Thakur that we have the YouTube, because it looked like we weren't going to have it. Sorry, we're a little late, but it all worked out. So let us go on and thank Ma for delivering us. Okay, we'll start with a chant. Om Sato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityurma Mritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from darkness into light. Lead us from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. Well, again, a hearty welcome, everyone. This is the pause after Easter and all of the holidays that we had in the tradition and the Hindu tradition as well. And the weekend, 2 weekends before Mother's Day. So this is a really kind of a lull, a little pause. So we're happy we could all be here together. And this topic today, and this, I think you see as a pattern that happens here, is I pick a topic that kind of speaks to my own life and my own needs. And so I see what Divine Mother is going to say when these talks come through, because really it's her who gives these talks. So I'm always surprised at things that I say, and I know I have none of this understanding at all. So she takes over sometimes. So, but the idea of fear, what's going on in our world today, and especially when you look at it through the eyes of Vedanta, is very, very poignant and very timely for our world. I think almost everybody in the world right now is feeling unsettled, and to some extent or greater extent or less, some people are totally freaking out. I know, totally panicked about what's going on in the world right now or their country, and some people are cheering on some of the things that are going on, but they're kind of angry and all that sort of thing. And some people are just kind of in the middle of this thing, just feeling lost. But one thing that's certain is that things are changing. The status quo that we had for a long time seems to be changing. And of course, that's the nature of the world anyways. But it can be very unsettling. So I thought I'd dig into what the great ones have to say about fear, and in different aspects and different levels. And so that we could take some answers at our own level, because everybody's in a different place, from their sayings and their talk about fear. And then we'll chant. We'll kind of go through a little bit, and then we'll chant, and then we'll go through and chant. Break this up a little bit, so we don't focus on. It's a heavy topic, right? Fear and worry. But here's Sardama, who's such a wonderful source of consolation in these kinds of things. I'm sure all of you have read, many of you have read the books of what the sayings of Sardama are. And her wisdom is just beyond understanding. She says, "Don't be afraid. Human birth is full of suffering, and one has to endure everything patiently, taking the name of God. None, not even God, in human form, can escape the sufferings of the body and the mind." So that's kind of, in a sense, it's very comforting to know that even the great beings had reflected some states of worry, some states of troubles in their lives, pain, suffering. Thakur, of course, endured such tremendous suffering. Sri Ramana Maharshi at the end of his life, tremendous suffering of cancer. Maybe hard to even imagine what they went through in a bodily suffering ways. And even some apprehension and so on in times. There's talks of all gods even having certain emotions. And I think that one approach to this fear thing comes from a faith-based answer. I think that what helps is faith is built on experience, right? Sometimes there's blind faith, And if you really have that, that's wonderful. They say that's really strong, right? If you have no real reason to be faithful, but you still feel that burning faith that things are going to be okay, it can solve all your problems and your mind can relax and you can just flow with things and so on. That's a great gift. But sometimes faith is built on experience. Like there's been so many times in the past that you've received grace when you really needed it. If you really think about it in your whole life, that there's times when you were saved exactly at the right time. Sometimes it's not the way we would have had it, wanted it, and sometimes we had to go through some suffering before we finally were kind of extricated from all these things. But I think that having these ideals of faith and turning into that source of supply is, I think, a really wonderful spiritual practice. And I think that, all the great ones tell us that suffering is one of the greatest purifiers and one of the greatest spiritual teachers, because the mind is automatically turned inward towards God. Maybe you don't pray at any other time in your life, but when there's tremendous suffering or sorrow or grief or pain, you have no choice but to turn within and just say, why, Lord? What's going on here? The devotees, of course, have built in a beautiful relationship with whatever form of that divine source that they're used to, that their nature has created for them. For example, Divine Mother is a beautiful way of approaching this source of all supply. And that's why I love having the four aspects of the Devi on the altar, of five actually. Actually it's four, I'm sorry. Because you have, of course, Sardama, but Kali Ma is the everything. She's all of creation, the destructive, horrible side of it, and the beautiful side of it. And so when you see the horrible sides of nature, you can say Ma. I've learned when I was in pain, it's just Ma. That's Ma too. And that's a really amazing thing that I never really had discovered before I had that kind of experience, that if you could really see Ma in that, the terrible aspect, which is in her image, that is really liberating. And there was a time when Swami Vivekananda, at the end of his life, really was, I don't know how to say, embracing or really, really seeing the terrible side of Ma Kali and kind of becoming at peace with it was something that if you read his writings towards the end of his life, you'll see that he went through that stage. So Ma is everything. So whatever's coming is Ma. Whatever's coming is consciousness or perfect. And that's the training that you can get with the beautiful relationship with Ma. So when, of course, something wonderful happens, it's Ma. That's easy, right? But it's harder when something really horrible is happening, that's Ma too. And somehow we have to see that we're looking at things from one dimension, and there's a lot of other aspects that make it make sense. But then there's also other aspects of Ma, because we're just kind of who we are, right? And Ma Durga is our protectrix. She has this sword and a lion, and you can sick her on everybody who's hurting you. She protects you from all the things that come and try to hurt you. And she's this beautiful source of security. That you feel secure in her arms and her lap. That nobody can hurt you because Ma's there to protect you. And so it's a beautiful relationship with God and the Divine Mother form of Ma Durga. And of course, Ma Lakshmi, we have needs. We cannot live in this world without support, financial support, having a place to live, having support in all of these things so that you have freedom of choice and all that sort of thing. So Ma Lakshmi, of course, she's the goddess of they say fortune, but it's all things of support, all things that of need. So you see that even in any answer to need, it's the divine hand that's the source of all supply. That it's not our own efforts or how wonderful we are, or we made millions of dollars and so we're great, or we're in trouble and so we're not so wonderful. But Ma's always the one who is to be praised. So with anything great, it's Ma's will. Anything that happens, these beautiful blessings, it's all Ma. There's nothing, we're not the doer. And I think this is this is, I think, one of the greatest lessons that Sakura was trying to tell us, that we have to find a way to realize that we are not in charge of anything. And that's a pretty honest assessment, right? Even if we think we are, we created a company or we created something and we can control certain things. But in the moment, any moment, all that stuff could be taken away. And we're seeing that now. Some huge companies, all of a sudden now they can't even export into America, just like that. And so people have lost trillions of dollars in the stock market. I mean, it's just amazing thinking that if this source of security is outside, all of these things can be torn away. So Mahalakshmi really is, to be able to just throw ourselves on her, keep me according to thy will, Ma. Take care of me. I am your child. I trust in you. You've never, ever, let me into a way that, you've always taken care of me. And so I trust that you will always. And sometimes these things kind of come and go in cycles to test us, It gives us a deeper faith that you worried and then all of a sudden it was taken care of again. And then sooner or later you say, okay, I'm going to stop worrying. It's silly. It doesn't help. She's always going to take care of it the way she wants to. And it always works out somehow, So Ma, such a beautiful, beautiful way to see things. Of course, Ma Saraswati, the goddess of all understanding and divine expression. So if we're being kept, if we're being supported, if we're being protected, for what purpose, right? So this is kind of the way I see Ma Saraswati, is that now we can be her instrument to express all of these beautiful things that are the divine nature into whatever world we seem to be thrown into, right? So we can be her voice. We can be her instrument that she can play. If she wants to play beautiful music, first from singing, some of you guys sing really well, or if you play musical instruments, or if you can give wisdom to the area that you are, it's all Ma. And so she protects us and sustains us and creates us so that she can express through us. So you see this beautiful synthesis of all of these parts of Ma that are part of creation, and it becomes very beautiful. So that's one way of looking at it. That's one aspect that Thakur was of course a very big devotee of Ma, and Ma guided him in everything. He felt Ma was controlling absolutely every decision, every movement he made, every thought, every word. But there's another way, a deeper way. So we'll chant to Ma first, and then we'll go into this idea of fear through Vedanta, through non-dualism, through understanding of jnana, and that's a little bit different. So we'll do some chanting. So let's just do the Jai Shri Durga chant, so we can chant all the names of Ma, and give her our thanks and our connection, and knowing that we are, we are a part of her. Not only the children, we are that substance, right? One thing that I've been realizing too is that after a while, you know that you've had these cycles of faith and doubt and faith and doubt and blessings and still doubt and all these. Sometimes you have to realize that it's a choice not to be afraid and not to doubt. You know, it's so funny that you can say to your mind, okay, I'm just not going to be worried. I'm not going to be afraid. As silly as that sounds. And sometimes if you're so despondent and so on, you know, but you can still, with this kind of relationship that you see, sometimes you have the control. You can say, okay, I'm just not going to be worried. I'm just not going to be, I choose not to do that this time. And to a large extent, you can remove a lot of that stuff. You just don't buy into it. Because you see that that is not all, there's always something going on. There's always some divine hand there. And you know that you just, you know, you can kind of take control over it that way. And I find that's really something I've kind of realized lately too, is that just because I'm kind of in a mood or, you know, I see the world and sometimes it just breaks my heart. You know, you read these stories. Finally, I just could say, okay, I choose to find peace and joy right now. I know it's, you know, it is there. It's a part of me. And sometimes that, you know, you can really develop that part too. I just wanted to mention that because I'm fighting this every day myself. You know, that's why I chose the topic. And I thought Ma would tell us all something that we could figure out. Now, this is something that started this whole idea of what we talked about today. This came up. And this is quite amazing. So, this is Advaita. When a man finds his existence and unity in the self, who is the basis of life, who is beyond the senses, who is formless, inexpressible, beyond all predictates, then alone does he transcend fear. So long as there the least idea of separation from him, there is fear. To the man who thinks himself learned, yet knows not himself as Brahman, Brahman who drives away all fear, appears as fear itself. This is from Kshatriya Upanishad. That is a very profound statement. And this is some of the commentary. We reach fearlessness when we know our unity with the self and Brahman. To attain this fearlessness, our consciousness must become more and more centered in that which is formless, inexpressible beyond all predictates. While living in this world, we must inwardly dwell in the transcendent reality that is Brahman, that is ourself. For so long as there is the least idea of separation from him, there is fear, and with good cause. The life separated from God is no life at all, but a mirage of suffering, change, decay, and death. Perhaps one of the saddest truths in any of the Upanishads is this: to know the man who thinks himself learned, yet knows not himself as Brahman. Brahman who drives away all fear appears as fear itself. So that was kind of, reading that was kind of the impetus for this whole topic. You know, if you really think about it, and you're kind of honest, if you look at our reality, and I was mentioning this when I did the interfaith talk to all the religions, if we really look at our situation, we don't know where we came from, we don't know who we are, what we're connected to, and where we're going. That is the state of all human beings, if we're really honest about it, right? And that has spawned all religious questioning and all religious thought and all religious striving. That reality, that unless you're a being that has a memory that goes back incarnations or something, I'm not talking about the divine beings, I'm talking about us normal mortals, right? That's the truth. We don't know where we came from. We don't know what our past is, we just kind of all of a sudden appeared into this crazy world. We have no idea what we're really connected to. We don't even know ourselves who we are. We don't know where we're going. And that state in itself is fundamentally the problem. And it always will be. It always, always will be. And so we can certainly mitigate a lot of that problem with faith and with the connection to a beautiful divine essence of God in whatever form that's nearest and dearest to your heart, because that's something we're familiar with, form and all these things. But what Sri Ramakrishna, and of course, if you listen to a lot of non-dualists talking, if you listen to Sarvapriyanandaji and all that, the only way of totally eliminating suffering without its possibility of reoccurrence is to know who you are, to find out what is your real essence, what is your real identity, what is your real nature. And for that, we have to go inward. For that, we have to turn, instead of looking outside at anything else, we have to turn within into that one source at the center of our beings. And that takes certain conditions, right? And certain evolutionary things that for that to be possible. So this is the idea of Vedanta, in that the only way of really removing suffering is to remove the illusion and remove the false notion of our identity and the projection, seeing an external and seeing reality in that external projection, and seeing also the fulfillment of desire in any of that external projection. Anything we see projected outside of ourselves that we think can give us anything is the problem. That's the trap. That's karma. That's what creates reincarnation. And that's what drives us onward and onward and onward. And that's the truth. And according to Vaida, according to Vedanta, and all of you have read it. So if you really see that, I really understand now why the Gita talks about non-attachment and acting without any desire for the fruits of actions. Totally non-attached to any outcome of what we're doing. That's the only solution before realization. Is more and more non-attached you are. We can't be hermits and just sit in a cave in India. We don't have that life, right? So how can we do this? How can we become that realized in this world right now, in this very lifetime, as Sri Krishna used to say, this very lifetime? And that is practicing absolute non-attachment. Enjoying things for exactly what they are. There's nothing like Sri Krishna ate, drank, and was married, he said, of course. And totally, you can enjoy your children, you can enjoy them, but be absolutely non-attached, realizing that it's just really a projection and that there's no real substance to that. And it can't give you anything. And then once there's reality, once you get to the top of the roof, as Sri Krishna talked about, then there's a different reality with all of this stuff. Then there's a different seeing it differently. But I don't think you can get there unless you get to the top of the roof first, where you actually see who you are. Actually see your identity, the self, that is just existence, pure existence. But then, what Thakur, of course, told us is that once you see the roof and you understand your existence, when you go back and look at the stairs again, then you see the same essence, the same consciousness has made up that stairway all along. And it's all that same consciousness. So there is this unity, because otherwise, if there's duality and delusion, that's duality, right? If there's some unreality and then there's some reality, it's still delusion, it's still duality. And Brahman is unity, absolute unity. So this is kind of sweet. So, you can practice non-attachment is probably the most important spiritual practice that there is, along with all of the devotion in the world. Total non-attachment, and that means surrender to whatever ishta that you have, or deity that you see, or connection in your heart, or to the self, And when you really get down to the essence of the teachings, getting rid of and releasing the old attachments to our own identity, the self that we think we are, that separateness. That's it. That's the essence of religion. Everything else is leading up to that possibility in some lifetime, whatever. We're all going to try to get there, right? So I really Ramanat said, he said, the first thing before Om is Ankara, is I, that false I, before Om. Om is creation. So before there can be any creation, there is that separate sense of I, separate identity. And that is the cause of all of the trouble. So getting back to that and going, releasing that is the key. Very interesting. It's very profound, very profound. So, I think that's what's great about this is it does give you some tools besides just faith, into really just being still and feeling. Because what's the essence of what they're saying that we are? It's exhaustless peace, exhaustless bliss and joy. That nature that bubbles up from nowhere. And I think that's what we're really, really looking for, not any of this, all the other stuff outwardly is kind of a false imitation of those inner qualities that we are. So I think this is really neat when we're talking about fear. The only way of getting rid of fear completely is by realization. And this is also, this is one final thing, and then we can leave this lofty plateau. Whatever is seen or heard, it cannot be different from Brahman. True knowledge finds Brahman to be being, consciousness, and bliss, and one without a second. Only the eye of wisdom can see the omnipresent being, consciousness, and bliss, but not the eye of ignorance, for a blind eye cannot see the sun. Like gold freed from dross, the Jaiva, Sadaka, has all his impurities burnt away by the fire of knowledge, bursting into flames, fanned by Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana, hearing, reflection, and contemplation. And now he shines forth by himself. Because the sun of knowledge, the chaser of darkness, has arisen, the Atman shines in the expanse of the heart as the omnipresent sustainer of all and illumines all. He who bathes in the clear, warm, ever-refreshing waters of the Atman, which being everywhere, available everywhere, here and now, need not be sought for in special centers or seasons. Such a one remains actionless. He is the knower of all. He pervades all and is ever immortal. And that's the Atma Buddha, verses 64 through 68. Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. And so that's a lot of what we do here. And that's why I always put in some form of a meditation, because Shravana, hearing it, Manana, ruminating on it, letting your mind understand it and comprehend it, digest it. But Nididhyasana is that absorption. The contemplation, I don't think, is the right. Yes. Yeah. It's more the becoming. It's the total realization of that, and realizing your essence of realizing that truth as yourself. So this is Nididhyasana. It's the experience of it, and it's a much more full than contemplation word. So this is the ideal, and that's why when we did the Ashtavarka Gita, we talked about that being a Nididhyasana, and Swami Sarvapriyananda said different scriptures have different viewpoints. Some of them are Shravanam scriptures, some of them are Manana. They're like Shankara. There's a lot of that too, all the logical dialectics and all these things. But some of the scriptures are Nididhyasana scriptures, like the Ashtavarka Gita. There's also another one that we're going to go through, the Rigu Gita, which is a beautiful, beautiful exposition. It's like it's being given from that state of oneness, that state of awareness. And all the words come from that being. It's not a logical dialectic piece at all. And it's really wonderful to read those, because it really puts you in that state. So this is something that's neat. So when we're talking about all of these states, what's really important is to see yourself that way. I am that. How would you put yourself there? So we'll sing one more song before, this is the hymn to Brahma. And this is the song we sing to the Guru, but there's another way of doing it. So of course, we're seeing the Sanskrit, but these are the words to it. Full of bliss, giving joy transcendent, of higher knowledge the abode, dual no more, clear as the heavens, known to all as thou art that. That is what we are. So instead of seeing it as the Guru only, see our own selves as that. Shravana Manana Nityasyana. So this is really a great chant if you internalize it and you really let it kind of percolate through you and let yourself be there. And that's what Swami Sarvapriyananda talks about over and over again. This is the second verse. He is pure, permanent, unmoving. That's us. The everlasting seer of all, awareness. Far, far beyond qualities and thought, not anything that can touch you. Guru Lord, I bow to thee. And that is the Guru inside, that is the self. Instead of an external Guru, is that self that we surrender to. So this is a really beautiful chant if you internalize it in Shravana Manana Nididhyasana terms, as well as a beautiful chant to Guru, of course. But you always set yourself up for these things, in stages. Like we sing this about the Guru because it set us up now. Once we understand what the Guru's consciousness is, then we have to start internalizing it to see our consciousness that way, to be able to make us that. We don't have to make us that, we are that. But it just allows us to be that. Because we don't want to allow ourselves to be that, right? We don't have permission. We're bad, we're horrible, we're sinful, we're all these terrible things. We have to allow ourselves, give ourselves permission to be ourselves again. And that's what purification is all about. Getting rid of all shame, fear, anger, all these things that push us away from that. So we'll sing Hymn to Brahma, and then we can just, you can just do either a little silence after that, because it's such a profound song. If you want to do the Soham chant and the breathing exercise, feel free. I'm not going to lead you through it. You all have been through that already. So just remember, on the inhale, so hum, exhale, so hum. That's a beautiful way of becoming the seer of all. Okay, so let's do Hymn to Brahma. permanent, unmoving, the everlasting, seer of all, far, far beyond qualities and form. Lord, I found thee. Lord, I found thee. Lord, I let us read a little bit of the gospel. Sound like a deal?
Yeah.
Let's see what the Guru has to tell us. Huh?
Yeah. Don't be afraid.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing to worry. It's all Mother's wish.
Exactly. So what is the page? Because I don't know if they're all on the same page. What?
153.
153?
Yeah, I think we are on 52, second paragraph. Therefore, I say
Okay.
153. 152,
Therefore I say.
second paragraph. Okay.
You said 152?
152 on top, second paragraph.
As they partake of the Luchi.
Therefore, I say.
It's the bottom one, the last paragraph.
Oh, okay. I thought you said the top. Okay, I got you. We can start there for sure. Who wants to start reading? Do you want to turn on that light? Is it too dark? We can turn on here. Let me do this. I gotta come up there. Ready?
Okay, I'll start from back here.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
By the time you get
I'll
under
turn the light
there.
on too.
There's
More
another
light.
therefore I say is on top.
Oh, the second paragraph.
Yeah.
That's what I say at the beginning of the religious
Yes.
life. There's two
Oh, do you see which
therefores.
one, Vicky? Okay, Vicky's gonna start.
Therefore, I say at the beginning of the religious life, a man makes much ado about work, but as his mind dives deeper into God, he becomes less active. Last of all comes the renunciation of work, followed by samadhi. Generally, the body does not remain alive after the attainment of samadhi. The only exception are such sages as Narada, who keep their bodies alive in order to bring spiritual light to others. It is also true of divine incarnations like Chidananda, Chaitananda, after the well is dug, one generally throws away the spade and the basket, but some keep them in order to help their neighbors. The great souls who retain their bodies after samadhi feel compassion for the suffering of others. They are not so selfish as to be satisfied with their own illumination. You are well aware of the nature of selfish people. If you ask them to spit at a particular place, they won't, lest it should do you good. If you ask them to bring some sweetmeat worth a cent from the store, they will perhaps lick it on the way back. Oh, okay, I'm done.
Huh?
Okay, I'm done.
Oh, is that all you?
Now that one I understand the whole laugh. Some of the jokes in here I don't get, but that one.
All right.
Okay, who wants to continue?
Do you want?
Oh, you don't want to?
Do you want? You can continue if you want. Do you want?
I'll pass.
I'll pass. Okay. All right. What? You want another paragraph? Because it's only going to be you and Radha to read. So.
Yeah, you can read some
Want to
more.
read another paragraph?
Okay, but the manifestation of divine power are different in different beings. Ordinary souls are afraid to teach others. A piece of worthless timber may itself somehow float across the water, but it sinks even under the weight of a bird. Sages like Narada are like a heavy log of wood, which not only floats on the water, but also can carry men, cows, and even elephants. To Shivanan and the other Brahmo devotees. Can you tell me why you dwell so much on the powers and glories of God? I asked the same thing of Keshab Sim. One day Keshab and his party came to the temple garden at Dakinshore. I told them I wanted to hear how they lectured. A meeting was arranged in the paved courtyard above the bathing hut on the Ganges, where Keshab gave a talk. He spoke very well and I went into a trance. After the lecture, I said to Keshab, why do you often say such things? Why do you often say things such as, oh God, what beautiful flowers thou hast made. Oh God, thou hast created the heavens, the stars, and the ocean, and so on. Those who love splendor themselves are fond of dwelling on God's splendor. Take it.
Sure. We can go
Go
there.
for it. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, good.
Yeah, when we get tired, I'll pass it on to you. You can read some more. Okay. Once a thief stole the jewels from the images in the temple of Radha. Mathur Babu entered the temple and said to the deity, "What a shame, O God, you couldn't save your own ornaments." The idea, I said to Mathur, does he who have Lakshmi for his handmaid and attendant ever lack in splendor? Those jewels may be precious to you, but to God they are no better than lumps of clay. Shame on you. You shouldn't have spoken so meanly. What riches can you give to God to magnify His glory? Therefore, I say, a man seeks the person in whom he finds joy. What need has he to ask where that person lives, the number of his houses, gardens, relatives, and servants, or the amount of wealth? I forget everything when I see Narendra. Never even unwittingly have I asked him where he lived, what his father's profession was, or the number of his brothers. Dive deep in the sweetness of God's bliss. What need we have of His infinite creation and unlimited glory? The Master sang, "Dive deep, O mind, dive deep in the ocean of God's beauty. If you descend to the uttermost depths, there you will find the gem of love. Go seek, O mind, go seek Vrindavan in your heart, where with his loving devotees Sri Krishna sports eternally. Light up, O mind, light up true wisdom's shining lamp, and let it burn with steady flame, unceasingly within your heart. Who is it that steers your boat across the solid earth? It is your Guru, says Kuber. Meditate on his holy feet. Sri Ramakrishna continued. It is also true that after the vision of God, the devotee desires to witness his lila. After the destruction of Ravana at Rama's hand, Nikaksha, Ravana's mother, began to run away for fear of her life. Lakshmana said to Rama, "Revered brother, please explain this strange thing to me. This Nikaksha is an old woman who has suffered a great deal from the loss of her many sons, and yet she is so afraid of losing her own life that she is taking onto her heels." Rama bade her come near, gave her assurance of safety, and asked her why she was running away. Nikasha answered, "O Rama, I am able to witness all this lila of yours because I am still alive. I want to live longer so that I may see many more things you will do on this earth." To Shivanath, I like to see you. How can I live unless I see pure soul devotees? I feel as if they have been my friends in the former incarnation, a Brahmo devotee. Sir, do you believe in the reincarnation of the soul? Master, yes, they say there is something like that. How can we understand the ways of God through our small intellects? Many people have spoken about in a reincarnation. Therefore, I cannot disbelieve it. As Bhishma lay dying on his bed of arrows, the Pandava brothers and Krishna stood around him. They saw tears flowing from the eyes of the great hero. Arjuna said to Krishna, "Friend, how surprising it is! Even such a man as a grandchild Bhishma, truthful, self restrained, supremely wise, and one of the eight Vasus, weeps through Maya at the hour of death." Sri Krishna asked Bhishma about it. Bhishma replied, "O Krishna, you know very well that this is not the cause of my grief. I am thinking that there is no end to Pandava's suffering, though God Himself is their charioteer. A thought like this makes me feel that I understood nothing of the ways of God, and so I read. It was about 8:30 when the evening worship began in the prayer hall. Soon the moon rose in the autumn sky and flooded the trees and creepers of the garden with its light. After prayer, the devotees began to sing. Sri Ramakrishna was dancing, intoxicated with the love of God. The Brahmo devotees danced around him to the accompaniment of drums and cymbals. You want to read that?
No, I won't.
You don't
I
wanna?
just gave a talk, so I think me
Oh,
reading would be
you
silly.
want to?
You want to
Okay.
finish it off till the,
Yeah.
just finish off that last paragraph.
Oh, okay.
No, Vicky.
Okay. This.
All appeared to be in a very joyous mood. The place echoed and re-echoed with God's holy name. When the music stopped, Sri Ramakrishna prostrated himself on the ground and made salutations to the Divine Mother again and again. Said, Bhagavata,
Bhagavata.
Bhagavana.
Bhagavata.
Okay. My salutations at the feet of the Jhanas.
Gyanis.
Gyanis?
Yeah.
My salutations at the feet of Bhaktas.
Mhm.
I salute the Bhaktas who believe in God with form, and I salute the Bhaktas who believe in God without form. I salute the knowers of Brahman of olden times, and my salutations at the feet of the modern knowers of Brahman, the
Brahmo
Brahmo Samash. Then the master and the devotees enjoyed a supper of delicious dishes, which
Benimana.
Vinimana, their host, had provided.
Perfect. Well, we'll stop there so we can find our way. So
Yeah.
next time.
Yeah.
But thank you both for reading. That was
November
really nice.
15th next time.
Yeah, we'll continue. We'll continue next time. That's always so much. This book is.
This
always
is so
been
much
to me.
fun to read.
Yeah, the
I
book is
enjoyed this
has been
book so much.
a source of joy for my life. So I'm sorry.
Do you want to read some more?
No, we're at 6 and we're gonna chant Ramakrishna Sharanam.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's enough.
Yeah.
If too much is greedy, and then we don't absorb it, right? It's like eating too many sweets. You overload it. You can.
Oh, you can never overdo that.
Well, after a
To
while,
a Bengali, that never happens.
it's good. Yeah, yeah. You can never eat too many sweets. But yeah. So we'll do Ramakrishna Sharanam. If you want to pass out all of the noisemakers and symbols.
No, I don't want to make noise.
You don't want to make noise.
Vicky, you want more?
No, we are.
Oh, Ruby, yeah, she can clap. Krishna Sharanam, Ram Krishna Sharanam, Ram Krishna Sharanam, Sharanye Prabhu, Krishna Sharanam, Ram Krishna Sharanam, Ram Krishna Sharanam, Sharanye. Kripahi Kevalam, Kripahi Kevalam, Kripahi Kevalam, Sharanye. Kripahi Kevalam, Kripahi Kevalam, Kripahi Kevalam, Sharanye. Jai Jai Ram Krishna Sharanam, Ram Krishna Sharanam, Ram Krishna Sharanam, Sharanye. Prabhu Ram Krishna Sharanam, Ram Krishna Sharanam, Ram Krishna Sharanam, Sharanye. Sharanagaitu-ham, 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 Bhante. Sharanagaitu-ham, 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 Bhante. Jai Jai Ram Krishna Sharanam, Ram Krishna Sharanam, Ram Krishna Sharanam, Sharanye. Prabhu Ram Krishna Sharanam, Ram Krishna Sharanam, Ram Krishna Sharanam, Sharanye. Namo Sri Gurave, Namo Sri Gurave, Namo Sri Gurave, Namo Namo. Namo Sri Gurave, Namo Sri Gurave, Namo Sri Gurave, Namo Namo. Jai Jai Ram Krishna Sharanam, Ram Krishna Sharanam, Ram Krishna Sharanam, Sharanye. Prabhu Ram Krishna Sharanam, Ram Krishna Sharanam, Ram Krishna Sharanam, Sharanye. Ram Krishna, Jaya Jaya Ram Krishna, Ram Ram Krishna Jaya Jaya Ram Krishna Ram Krishna Jaya Jaya Ram Krishna Krishna Jaya Jaya Ram Krishna Krishna Jaya Jaya Ram Krishna Jaya Jaya Ram Krishna Krishna Jaya Jaya Ram Krishna Jaya Jaya Ram Krishna Sharanam Krishna Sharanam Sharanye Prabhu Krishna Sharanam Krishna Sharanam Sharanye Kripa hi kevalam Sharanye Kripa hi kevalam Sharanye Jai Jai Ram Krishna Sharanam Krishna Sharanam Sharanye Prabhu Krishna Sharanam Krishna Sharanam Sharanye Sharana Gaituham Mande Sharana Gaituham Mande Jai Jai Ram Krishna Sharanam Krishna Sharanam Sharanye Prabhu Krishna Sharanam Krishna Sharanam Sharanye Namo Sri Gurave Namo Sri Gurave Namo Sri Gurave Namo 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 Sri Gurave Namo Sri Gurave Namo Sri Gurave Namo Namo Jai Jai Ram Krishna Sharanam Krishna Sharanam Sharanye Prabhu Krishna Sharanam Krishna Sharanam Sharanye Krishna Jaya Jaya Ram 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 Krishna Sharanam Krishna Sharanam Krishna Sharanam Sharanye Thank you all so much for coming today. We so appreciate it. And we really look forward to seeing you all and all of you for Swami Chit Ramanandaji. He's going to be here this Friday at 6 p.m. We'll have a satsang, we'll have an RT, and then he'll do a satsang so you can get to know him a bit. Then we'll have a dinner, a bring a dish dinner. On Saturday at 4 p.m. we'll start an RT, and he'll have his talk then on Saturday starting at 5 until whenever he finishes, and then we'll have a dinner as well. So you'll get a chance to know Swami Chidramanandaji. We're so blessed to have him. We just got lucky, and he happens to be coming through on his way to Hollywood. So we got lucky, and I got a call from Swami Sarvadevanandaji Maharaj. And he said, guess who's coming? I said, no, I don't know.
Yeah. Where is he from?
He was in Colorado. He was up in San Francisco.
He's in Trabuco.
Yeah. And he was in Trabuco when I was, they stayed there. So I got to.
Where is Trabuco?
Chibuku's in Orange County. It's our ashram, men's ashram in Orange County. It's got a long history. It's a really older ashram, beautiful. So thank you all so much for coming. Jai Shri Krishna. Jai Ma. We'll see you next week on Friday. And by the way, we won't have Sunday because we have Friday and Saturday. There's no need to have Sunday. Okay. I can't do any better than Swami Shibramanandaji, of course. Okay. Thank you all. Jai Ma.